As Mika made her way up the stairs to her new quarters, she entered to find a fairly well-furnished area. There was a bed, complete with blankets, a shower, a toilet, a bathroom sink with a mirror. Feeling weary and with a number of bruises and scrapes that she's currently trying to rub the soreness out of, she walked over to the bed, sitting down, for a moment questioning where the blankets came from, before deciding that she'd simply ask about it later. To her right, as she looked over, she could still see the glass-like surface that gave her a view of space and the infinite universe beyond her window. Turning away from it to begin getting undressed to go to sleep. After removing most of her articles of clothing and placing them on the floor next to the bed, she took special attention to take one object out of her clothing. It was a hair comb, a small, delicate one, seeming to be carved from some sort of natural material that had a sapphire-like appearance, with other colorful stones adorning it. None of them appeared to be of any true value. In fact, the entire thing looked very low-tech in its construction, as if it were made by hand. Sitting back down on the bed and running the comb through her hair a few times, while staring down at the floor beside her bed, Mika began to feel her face furrow, tension in the muscles building, as crystal blue tears began to fall from her eyes, and Mika began to cry, starting to press the comb against her chest, as if releasing some tension and energy that she had been holding for a great deal of time. Without even bothering to subside the tears first, Mika crawled the rest of the way into bed, pressing her head against the warmth of the pillow, the comb gripped tightly against her chest, and simply went to sleep just like that. While Mika would wish for a peaceful night's sleep, unfortunately what she received was no different from her regular night's sleep. She was assailed with images, memories from a time long past. She remembered being a little girl, fire burning all around her, and people running and screaming, the fear, the heat, the concern of looking for her parents and not being able to find them. Until at last there was a moment of hope. Mika sees them, her mother and father, running towards her. And she begins to run in their direction as well, crying, afraid, trying to return to someone who she feels safe with. And in that moment of hope, having it all shattered, bright bursts of energy alight through her parents' bodies. Scorches of clothing and heat, smoke rising from them as they collapse to the ground in front of her. And from the distance, a man approaches, holding a plasma weapon, still hot from firing. Mika, no longer even able to cry, simply staring at it, as if she can't believe what her eyes are seeing, looking down at her family in horror, as the man reaches down, grasping several artifacts from them, articles of jewelry and decorations that adorn them, necklaces, bracelets, the pins that held her mother's hair in place, before the figure looks back up at Mika, a handful of her parents' possessions, grasped tightly as he tucked them away in a satchel, as he begins to raise the gun at Mika, pointing it at her for a few moments, holding his aim, before lowering the gun once more. "Get out of here, brat. There ain't shit left for you here," Varen said, as he waved the girl away. Mika was frozen solid, unable to move. "Didn't you hear me, brat? Run!" he cried out, before pointing the gun again and firing off several shots in Mika's direction, hitting the ground around her. And in that moment, Mika's natural instincts finally took hold. With nothing else to do and no other options, all she could do was run. Run as far as her legs would carry her, running far to the outskirts of the village, eventually being found by several other members of her village and taken in. And the last thing she sees, as always, is a little girl's face reflected in a pool of water, ripples flowing through it as her blue tears fill it, changing the color of the water, before finally the face of sadness that she wears begins to change. No longer sad, now angry, furious. The little girl strikes the pool of water below her. The reflection before her is dashed, and finally, Mika awakes from her dream. "Captain Mika, we've reached our first destination," a voice said to Mika as she grumbled her way awake. Still, the comb gripped into her fingers. "What? I'm sorry to wake you. It's just that you've been down for a while. We've already reached our first destination, and I'm preparing to let the crew members go. I've created a short-term emergency escape vessel that should carry them all. Once it reaches the surface of the planet, it will self-disable and become useless. They won't be able to fix it. On board, they'll have all the provisions that they need, as well as a signaling device, as you requested. I was wondering if you'd like to see them off, or perhaps take a look over the ship. As I do not have a creative touch myself, perhaps you might have input. Decoration ideas, layout plans. I do not know why it bothers me, but my current schematics, both interior and exterior, still pose me a great deal of trouble. I find myself uncomfortable with it, and was hoping that you might suggest some changes." Yeah, I guess," Mika said, waking up from her sleep and sitting up on the bed, eventually pulling herself from it and making her way over to the shower, where she took a nice long soak before exiting and cleaning up. The shower that you have looks so much better than the one that was fitted on the ship before. As I said, the voice replied to Mika, I had to make far more functional duplicates for many aspects of the ship. The shower is just one of them. As far as garbage goes, I'd say your ship had, well, an overabundant amount of it. In fact, in terms of overall matter, I had to dispose of nearly 20% of the overall matter that comprised the ship. It was complete and utter garbage, rust particles, and things of that nature. Dirt, grime, gunk, burnt circuits and wires, trashed conduits. But the absorption process is finally complete, and all parts that I could account for have been replaced with refurbished duplicates. I have reconstructed the bridge and created an interface The ship's technological systems are actually proving useful, the voice replied, as a blue glow began to emit from a nearby wall, as what appeared to be images forming on it. It was a display screen, like you would see on a computer. Thanks to the technologies absorbed from the vessel, I can now produce functional image displays. Here, you'll see a general layout of the ship, its construction, as well as a map. You, of course, as captain, have complete access. All functions, parameters, weapons, defenses, constructions, and arrangements are within your range of control. Even if you are not an expert ship designer, you may rearrange whatever you wish from this control panel, or any control panel. Okay, well, that's cool, Mika said, beginning to clean up her hair and tie it tightly, wrapping it into a bun and placing the small comb that she went to sleep with through it. Well, Mika, day 1 as captain. I suppose even if you don't have a crew yet, it's still time for you to make your impression. This universe is a big place, Mika. Leave your footprint on it, she said, staring into the mirrors, concentrating seriously, talking to herself, her own reflection, before taking a deep breath and slapping her cheeks a bit, and turning around, beginning to make her way towards the stairs that exited the room.